I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 6 years now. We got married just over a year ago, and I genuinely thought we had something solid. We had our fights, yeah, but overall, I believed she was the one. She's always been a little bitchy, sharp-tongued and quick to lie when it suited her, but I figured that was just her personality. I never suspected she'd do something this twisted. Our relationship started to feel a little off a few months ago, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Small things, she was more distant, hiding her phone more than usual, canceling plans last minute, and her excuses were always creative. I'm tired, she'd say, or work, been stressful. But I saw through her bullshit. Something was wrong. Still, I never imagined it was this. Our anniversary trip was supposed to be a celebration, a getaway for just the two of us. We'd been planning it for months, and I was genuinely excited. I thought it'd be a chance for us to reconnect, to forget the weird vibe that had been hanging in the air. But from the moment we arrived, I could tell Lisa was tense. She kept checking her phone, hiding her messages. She was acting like she was hiding something, fidgeting, avoiding eye contact. I brushed it off initially. Maybe she was just stressed about work or something. But then, little things started to add up. I noticed her phone was unlocked in the hotel room when she thought I wasn't looking. I'd catch her typing late at night, and the way she'd quickly hide her screen when I entered the room. I found a pair of lipstick-stained napkins in the trash one morning, and her perfume was stronger than usual. Small clues, but enough to make my gut tighten. I told myself I was overthinking, that maybe I was just paranoid. But deep down, I knew something was seriously wrong. One evening, I was in the lobby waiting for her while she was freshening up. I decided to check her phone, just a quick glance. I know, invasion of privacy, but I was desperate. And that's when I saw the text messages. Not just flirtatious shit, but explicit conversations with someone I didn't know. The name on the screen was Jake, and the messages were dripping with desire, planning meetups, talking about hot sex and secret moments. My stomach dropped. My wife was cheating on me with Jake, and she hadn't even denied it when I finally confronted her. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All the moments I thought were happy, all the signs I ignored, suddenly made sense. The distance, the excuses. I had missed the clues because I didn't want to believe that the woman I loved could be capable of this level of deception. And the worst part, she's the type of girl who'd lie straight to your face, deny everything, and smile while doing it. I knew she was lying, but I didn't have proof back then. Now I did, and it hit me like a freight train. After I saw those messages, I couldn't breathe. My mind was racing a million miles an hour trying to process what I just read. How long had she been doing this? Was it just that weekend, or had it been going on for months? I felt this mix of rage, heartbreak, and disbelief swirling inside. I never thought Lisa, my wife, would betray me like this, especially not during a trip meant to be special. It felt like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. I waited until she came out of the bathroom, pretending everything was normal. She looked beautiful as always, but her eyes looked tired. As soon as she sat down, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I showed her the phone, pointed out the messages, and watched her face drain of color. Her first reaction was denial, classic Lisa. She said I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that Jake was just a friend. Yeah, right, I'd seen enough to know that wasn't true. The way she hesitated, the way she blushed and stammered gave her away. She was caught, plain and simple. Her excuses were pathetic. She said she was just lonely, that Jake was listening to her, that it was just sex, her words, not mine, that she'd never meant for it to go this far, that it was a mistake. She kept crying, acting sincere, trying to guilt me into forgiving her, but all I could feel was this sick, hollow emptiness. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted her after all the times she lied about small things? I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. I asked her how long it had been going on. She shrugged, mumbled something about a few months. Her voice was shaky, her tears genuine enough to make me question everything. But I knew better. I knew that she'd been lying to me from the start. The woman I loved, the woman I built a life with, was a cheat. And she had the audacity to cry and plead for forgiveness, saying she loved me and that it was just a stupid mistake. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she think that I'd just forget all this, just forgive her like it was nothing? I told her I needed some time to think, that I couldn't believe she'd do this to us. She begged, of course, saying she'd stop, that she didn't want to lose me, that she was sorry. But I didn't know if I could believe her anymore. The trust was shattered. I looked at her, furious and broken all at once, and I realized that my entire view of our marriage had crumbled in that moment. I'd been played for a fool, and I didn't know how to piece myself back together. I knew I had to figure out my next move, whether to fight for her or to cut her loose. The pain was sharp, and I didn't see a way out that didn't leave scars. In the days that followed, everything felt like a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, Lisa, lying and crying and trying to convince me it was all just a mistake. But I knew better now. There was no way I could ignore what I'd seen, what I'd read. Still, I wasn't ready to make any decisions right away. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand answers, maybe even tell her to pack her bags and leave. But another part, this dark, cold part, wanted revenge. Not just to hurt her, but to make her feel the heartbreak she'd caused me. I started to plan. I think that's what hurt the most, realizing I was actually considering revenge. I'm not the kind of guy who's into petty games or hurting people, but this was different. This was personal. Lisa had crossed a line she couldn't come back from, and I wanted her to feel what I felt: confused, betrayed, humiliated. I didn't want her to just say sorry and go back to normal. I wanted her to know that her lies and her secret meetings had consequences. I spent hours stalking her social media, digging into her phone, looking for every little detail I'd missed. I found out she met Jake more times than I'd thought, always in secret places: hotel rooms, deserted parking lots, her apartment when she thought I wasn't home. The worst was the physical stuff. I found photos she'd sent him, quick snapshots of her in bed, her lips on his neck, the kind of stuff that made me sick. She'd even admitted to me that they'd had sex, but she insisted it was just sex, like that made it okay. I couldn't believe I'd married a girl who thought that kind of betrayal was just a fling. The anger kept building, and I knew I needed to do something. I wasn't about to let her walk all over me. I started thinking about ways to make her regret everything, ways to show her I wasn't a fool. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. Maybe I'd tell her family, maybe I'd expose her to her friends, or maybe I'd do something more personal, something that would hit her where it hurt most. I wasn't sure what exactly that was yet, but I knew I had to act. I couldn't just pretend it never happened. Not after I'd seen what she'd done, how she'd lied, and how she'd betrayed me. I kept telling myself that I deserved better, that I shouldn't settle for a girl who thought cheating was just a little mistake, a moment of weakness. But deep down, I was hurting so badly. Every thought was a punch to my chest. The worst part was the silence. There was no way to undo what was done. No matter how much I wanted to fix it, I knew I couldn't just forget. The trust was gone. The love I had for her was turning into pure rage. I just didn't know if I was strong enough to walk away, or if I'd do something I'd regret. The night I finally decided to confront her again, I knew I had to be smart. I wasn't about to storm in and start yelling, not yet. I needed proof, something undeniable, and I wanted her to admit it on her own. I set a trap of sorts. I left my phone in the living room, recording, just in case she tried to lie her way out of it again. I wanted her to say something that I could hold against her, something that couldn't be twisted or denied. That evening she came home late, smelling of perfume and guilt. She looked nervous, like a kid caught with their hand in the cookie jar. She tried her usual act, brushing past me like nothing was wrong, but I wasn't buying it. I sat her down, looked her straight in the eyes, and told her I knew everything. That I had all the evidence, texts, photos, the whole damn thing. Her face twisted with anger, denial, and maybe a little panic. She tried to play innocent, claiming I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that Jake was just someone she'd met at work, and that I was blowing it all out of proportion. But I wasn't having any of it. I pressed her, demanding the truth. That's when she lost her cool. Her voice got bitchy, her eyes narrowed, and she spat out, "You're just jealous. You think I'm cheating because I don't love you anymore. Maybe you're the one who's insecure." I couldn't believe how she lied so effortlessly, twisting everything to make me look like the bad guy. It was almost impressive how she managed to keep up her act, even as I threw more proof at her. I felt my blood boiling. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about her trying to gaslight me, trying to turn the tables and make me doubt myself. Finally, she snapped. It was like she'd been holding it in, and then she exploded, throwing out more insults, telling me I was pathetic, that I couldn't satisfy her, that I was just a boring, insecure husband who couldn't keep her happy. I stared at her, furious and broken. I realized then that she was never going to admit it outright, not honestly, not without a fight. So I decided I'd had enough. I told her she needed to leave. I couldn't stay in the same house with her fake tears and her lies, not anymore. I had to get away, clear my head, and figure out what the hell I was going to do next. As she packed her bags, she kept throwing me these hateful looks, like she hated me for catching her, for exposing her. I felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. Part of me wanted to break down, to beg her to stay and work it out. But the bigger part knew that this was the end. I'd never trusted her again, not properly. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone who could lie and cheat and smear me in a heartbeat. I shut the door behind her that night, and the silence that followed was deafening. I was alone now, more alone than I'd ever been, and I had no idea if I'd ever recover from this betrayal. The days after she left felt like walking through a fog. My apartment was eerily quiet without her constant bitchy comments or the way she'd storm around, throwing things and acting like she was the queen. I spent hours staring at nothing, replaying everything in my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Jake. Her lips on his neck, the way she'd lied to my face. It was a pain that cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever feel normal again. I knew I had to do something about the situation, but I wasn't sure what. Part of me wanted to call her back, beg her to come home, to pretend it was all a mistake. But I knew deep down that wasn't real. The trust was gone. Her words, her tears, her apologies meant nothing now. What mattered was that she had lied, cheated, and broke everything we built. I started to think about revenge, not in some reckless way, but as a way to make her feel the pain she'd caused me. I started digging into her social media more, looking for ways to get back at her, to expose her. That's when I found her secret email account. I don't even know how I stumbled onto it, but there it was. More messages with Jake, planning their next meeting, talking about what they'd do when they were alone again. I saw her admitting that she loved the thrill of sneaking around, that she felt alive when she was with him. That was the moment. I knew I'd make her regret everything. I spent the next few days crafting a plan. I wanted her to see that I wasn't the kind of guy who'd let her get away with this. I considered telling her family, friends, even Jake himself, but I ultimately decided that I'd do something more personal. I wanted her to feel the same heartbreak I'd been carrying around. So I started leaving little clues around her stuff, notes, messages, things I knew she'd find. I even made a fake account to message her, pretending to be someone else to get her to reveal more. I watched her reactions, saw her squirm and lie, and it only made my resolve stronger. Deep down, I knew I'd come to a point where I'd have to make a choice, whether to forgive her and try to rebuild or to cut her out completely. Honestly, I was leaning towards the latter. I wasn't the kind of guy who believed in quick forgiveness anymore. This betrayal had shattered everything I thought I knew about her, about us. I didn't want to be bitter, but I also didn't want to keep pretending that everything was fine. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences, that a lie like this doesn't just blow over. And if it meant pushing her further away or making her feel guilty, so be it. I was done being the fool. I was ready to face what was coming, whether that meant fighting to save what little was left or finally letting go for good. The final blow came when I decided to confront her directly, knowing I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with everything. I set up a meeting, told her I had something important to say, and she showed up expecting maybe a plea for her to come back or some kind of reconciliation. But I wasn't interested in playing those games anymore. I sat her down, looked her straight in the eyes, and told her I knew everything. About Jake, the secret meetings, the texts, the photos. I told her I'd seen enough and that she could lie all she wanted, but I wasn't stupid. Her face twisted, first in shock, then in rage. She snapped at me, calling me crazy, saying I'd invaded her privacy, that I was just paranoid. But I wasn't there to listen to her lies anymore. I told her I was done. Done with the cheating, done with the lies, done with being made a fool of. I told her that I was walking away, that I wanted her to leave and never come back. I saw her mouth open to argue, but I cut her off. I was done listening to her bullshit. As she gathered her things, she kept trying to spin it, saying she loved me, that she'd never meant for it to happen, that it was just sex, that Jake was just a rebound. But I didn't care. Her words didn't matter anymore. The damage was done, and I knew I'd never see her the same way. I felt this strange mix of relief and deep sadness. Relief because I was finally free from the lies, sadness because I'd lost someone I once loved so much. Now I spend my days trying to pick up the pieces. I've gone to therapy, trying to understand how I missed all the signs, how I let her manipulate me for so long. I've learned that betrayal doesn't just come from a lover, it comes from the people you trust the most. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I don't need her to define me. I don't need her to validate my worth. Looking back, I'd tell anyone in a similar situation that honesty, trust, and respect are everything in a relationship. If those aren't there, it's better to walk away than to stay and keep getting hurt. People can lie and cheat, but in the end, you have to choose to protect your sanity and your heart. I'm still healing, still angry sometimes, but I know I'll be okay. I'll find someone who values honesty and loyalty, someone who won't treat love like a game. And that's what I've learned from all this chaos. If someone betrays you, don't hold on to the ruins. Just walk away and never look back.